going to start with my visit to the Heritage Museum, the Museum of Mennonite Heritage, that I went to yesterday with my sister, and I really felt like a tourist as I approached this beautiful and imposing structure, just quite near to the freeway where you have the giant raspberries. Always an interesting feature of that area, the freeway. The Museum of Mennonite Heritage. And my sister and I walked in, and well, we belong here. We have a Mennonite heritage. We weren't brought up as Mennonites, but all our extended family was, and we'd heard stories and almost the mythical past. And so it was so much fun to feel this welcome and the sense of belonging. Here we are. This is our past. This is, in our genes, this heritage. And one of the first things I read on the gallery wall that was outlining the 500-year Anabaptist history was a quote from the founder of the Mennonites, Mennonite. And it impressed me so much that I called my sister over and says, "Look at this," and which I'm not going to quote it, but I felt such a depth of, spiritual conviction, insight, inspiration that this person had been somewhat of a mystic, I'm sure, to have received just a clear and compelling image of what we're capable of us as humans, of having our natures transformed. And in his view, in his words, it was by Jesus Christ, having a new nature. And it would be exemplified by the practice of peace. And that's what the Mennonites were known for, was they're nonviolent. They wouldn't participate in wars. It was in their creed. And this led to them, to a certain degree of persecution and having to go from, country to country where they could build their cultures and their communities and their churches. So that's the kind of a general outline story of the Mennonites, which is completely fascinating. But what jumped out at me was the founder statement. And I talked about this with my sister as we were driving to visit our mom afterwards. The sense of transformation, the transformational power of belief. I said, is it beliefs that enable that transformation? Because growing up in a church, the church upbringing, you were imbued with beliefs. And I said, those belief systems can feel like a prison, like a box, the beliefs, and not necessarily lead to that transformational experience. So beliefs can be a prison, or they can be a launching pad. And we want to always be expanding, and our minds to be, fresh and open to new beliefs, new ways of thinking. And so beliefs, they can be a launching pad to a new experience as well. And it's the experience that actually is changing. It's an experience that's transformational. And I speculated that Mennonite had a transformational experience in which he understood his true nature, or the true nature of Christ. They were one. And this was the message that he wanted to impart to his, congregation, to the people. And it's a hard message to really get, because right away people can get caught up in beliefs systems and in morals and in ethics, and see everything as behaving a certain way and acting a certain way, and not necessarily from that feeling of actually, having this transformed nature. So I was reflecting on this, throughout the day, what's the nature of that transformational power. And as I listened to a YouTube lecture last evening, I came across one by Richard Rohr, who's a Catholic priest, written many books, and he has a center for transformation, and he was talking about Paul, the writings of St. Paul, and immediately I realized that this was an extension of the internal dialogue, the conversation I'd been having, with myself, and then also with my sister, about the difference between belief and actual experience. And so I got a really well-rounded picture from this viewpoint of this father, this Catholic father, that was actually, the message of Paul, that it's we're not good by trying to be good. We're good because it's our nature. That if we participate in this divine nature of Christ, of Jesus Christ, we participate in that, then we're naturally going to be good because that's our nature. And this is very much in line with things that I've been thinking about, who we are authentically, like what is my authentic nature? And when do I have a sense of reality? What is the nature of reality? And when do I feel real? And these are the sort of questions I ask myself a lot. And the idea of being yourself, I think, is very close, right, to this divine nature, to what we would think of, like wanting to do the right thing, like being loving and enjoying people and enjoying life, and feeling appreciative of being here on the earth and in this experience, and this a joyful, loving experience. That would be an indication for me that I am kind of approaching that, or am experiencing myself in my true nature and who I really am as a loving being, a loving person. So it's a practice, and the difference now is, in my way of thinking about all this, is that it's not hard, right? It's not difficult. Being brought up, fundamental religious tradition, and then even, studying other paths regarding enlightenment, and just different ways of that it's explained, and things that are, even throughout history, how do you attain that sense of union with God? It's always a very difficult path. But what is very, the difference, how those things have really been turned upside down now, and I would say that with this father, Richard Rohr, as well, there was intimations of that in his talk last night. That's actually easy. It's not hard. It's hard to keep pushing against things that are true. It's hard to keep pushing against the way you really want to live life. it's hard to keep forcing yourself to believe and act in ways that you think you're supposed to. It's actually when you're easy with yourself, and when you let go of trying to be something or someone, that's when you start really feeling that power of your real nature, divine power or just source power, the energy. It's when you stop that is actually becomes accessible and real. And that is a very powerful thought. And that's where I'm going to end.